Hey, this is Eric from George's Music, and welcome to our video for our first time guitar buyers with George's Music. This jumpstart to guitar basics will cover how to hold the guitar, how to tune the guitar, your first few chords, and much more. So let's get started. Okay, let's first talk about the basic parts of the guitar. At the top here we have what's called the headstock. What's attached to the headstock are called tuning machines. Now these tuning machines not only hold the strings, but they also help tune the guitar as well. Traveling down we have the nut. The nut is slotted to actually hold the strings in place on the fretboard. The fretboard is this piece here that's on the front of the neck that actually hold these vertical metal strips called frets. And also on the fretboard is you'll see little white dots on the front of the fretboard and also on the top here. Those are just simply position markers, so as you're traveling up and down the neck, it basically helps your fingers know where to go just to make sure your chords and your single notes are in tune. What holds the fretboard to the guitar is what we call the neck. The neck travels from the headstock to the body of the guitar. So this part here, the top, the sides, and the back, called the body. On the body of the guitar we have what's known as the bridge, and that is this rosewood piece that's glued to the top of the guitar. What is included with the bridge here are the bridge pins, and these actually hold the strings in place on the body of the guitar. And right in front of the bridge pins is what we call a saddle, and that actually just helps the string travel over the bridge, down the fretboard, through the nut, into the tuning machines. So that's the basic parts of an acoustic guitar. On an electric guitar, what's great is the parts are identical, except for just a few things. One is the body is most likely a solid body. You'll have pickups on the guitar. You'll have switches and knobs that actually turn the volume up or down on the guitar. You can change the sound on an electric guitar. And you'll also have an output jack too to go to an amplifier. But the headstock, tuning machines, fretboard, frets, neck, body, they all refer to the same thing on an acoustic or electric guitar. Okay, next up is going to be the names of the strings. So if you notice on a typical acoustic or electric guitar, you typically have 6 strings. The string that's lowest to you, or the thickest string, is called the E string. It's also referred to as the 6th string as well. The next string down towards the floor is the A string, also known as the 5th string. The next string is called D, or the 4th string of the guitar. The next string is the G string, known as the 3rd string on the guitar as well. Following the G, we have the B string, which is also known as the 2nd string of the guitar. And the high string, which is the one closest to the floor ironically, is also another E string, and that's also referred to as the 1st string as well. So you may have instructors that refer to the E, the A, the D, the G, the B, or the E, or some may refer to it as the 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st as well. They all mean the same thing. And a really cool way you can actually memorize the names of the strings is just by a real simple saying. If I travel from the top string to the bottom string, you could actually kind of think of this funny phrase: every band gets done at 8. That'll help you remember the names of the strings. Learning how to tune your instrument at first can be very frustrating. However, once you master it, it'll offer you a lifetime of enjoyment when playing your guitar. Now, years ago in method books and teaching methods, they taught us how to tune an instrument by fretting a pitch and trying to match that to another open string. And that way the strings would then be in tune with one another and you would work your way down on the guitar. However, not only is it frustrating, especially if your ear isn't developed, but sometimes if you made a mistake, the guitar would completely go out of tune. So with the advent of a really cool device called an electronic guitar tuner, it's made our lives a whole lot easier. Let's check one out. Okay, and now using an electronic tuner is really easy. I just changed the angle here so you can see this a little bit better. I'm actually going to take a clip-on electronic tuner. I'm going to clamp it onto the headstock here. Fits nicely. It's going to work on the vibration of the guitar. So I'm going to turn this guy on, and you'll see that the display will start to light up when I start to strike some of the strings. Now I'm going to start with the A string, which is the 5th string on the guitar. And I'm going to play this string. And I notice that the display is actually straight up. The needle is straight up in the display, and it's reading A. That means that string is in tune. I'm going to go to the next string, which is the D string, or the 4th string, and I'm traveling towards the floor. Now I know that this is the tuning machine that actually will turn my D string. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure that this string is in tune, but I'm going to detune it just for 1 second. And you'll see something unique on the display. You'll see that the needle isn't quite straight up. It's almost to the left a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this machine counterclockwise, and the pitch of the string will go up. And when the needle is straight up like that, that means that string is in tune. I'm going to move to the G. This is the 3rd string on the guitar. That guy looks like it's in tune there. If you notice, I'm playing the string, it's waiting for the vibration. The tuner is waiting for the vibration of the string to tell me what to do. That guy is in tune. Now I know that this tuner here is my B string. I'm actually going to take it down a little bit. And you notice, it doesn't say B. I'm going to raise it up in pitch. Slowly raise it until that needle is straight up. There's my B. And my 1st string is my high E string. Play that. If you notice, I play the string consecutively, softly, and it tells me that that string's in tune. And the last one I just want to recheck is my low E string, which is the 6th string, and that guy shows in tune as well. So if I play a couple chords here, I've got an in-tune guitar. So that's how easy an electronic tuner works. And once you're done with it, you just turn it off and you can unclip it or leave it on your guitar. Won't hurt anything, and you're off to the races. Occasionally, you may need to replace a string, or you may want to replace all the strings so your guitar sounds brand new. It's really not that difficult. It's once you see how it's done, it's fairly easy, and it'll be able to save you time and money in the long run. So I'm going to first start on an acoustic guitar, show you quickly how to do it, and then I'll use an electric guitar also as an example. Okay, the first thing you want to do is basically stabilize the guitar. I have this on a workbench here. I have a neck holder here, and on the bottom of the guitar here I have a polishing cloth just so it doesn't rub along the workbench. It's probably beneficial to have something like this that actually is a neck cradle of some sort. If not, it gets a little bit difficult to change a string. So right there, it fits in there and it stabilizes really well. The other thing that you're going to need is basically a simple tool. First thing will be a peg winder, and in this particular case, this instrument actually also has a wire cutters as well. So one of these, a stable guitar, and a few extra strings to put on your guitar, and we're good to go. Here's how it works. Okay, the first order of business is we want to replace one of the strings. We're going to find and replace this low E string. If you notice, it has a pitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the tuning machine, and in this case I turn it clockwise to lower the pitch of the instrument. Okay? If you accidentally turn it the other way, that's okay, you're not going to hurt anything. However, we want to make sure that it's as loose as possible, so I'm going to turn it clockwise. You'll hear the pitch of the string go down. The other thing that you can also do, instead of doing it by hand, is use a peg winder. This is a guitar tuner peg winder, and all I'm going to do is place it on the tuning machine, turn it the same way, clockwise, and you'll notice that the tuning machine turns twice as fast now, a lot nicer, and we get a faster result. Okay, the next order of business is getting the bridge pin out. Now remember, this is the bridge, these are the bridge pins, this is the saddle, this is what the strings rest on. Now this is my low E, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my peg winder. Generally it has a notch or a slot in it. It's convenient, it actually goes right underneath the bridge pin, and if you pull up lightly, that bridge pin will pop out, and that's all there is to it. And you'll find that the other end of the string is just basically sitting right inside that bridge. That's how the string comes out. Now to take the string off the guitar, we could do one of two things. One is, since it came out of the bridge, we can manually undo it. We could unwrap it around the tuner if we want to, or you can cut it as well. You certainly don't want to cut the string while it's still on the guitar, but if you cut it when it's nice and loose, you're in good shape. In this case, what I'll do is I'll just undo it from the tuning machine, and you'll see that it pops out. Now since we're replacing this string now is simply just garbage, and you can toss it on out. Okay, here comes the fun part. What you want to do is you want to get a replacement set of strings. So if you have any questions, certainly ask an associate at one of our Georgia stores. They'll certainly get you hooked up with a very good replacement set of strings. The strings are going to have a number on them. Those numbers correspond to the thickness of the strings. You can see that some are thicker than others. In this case, we're going to replace the low E. Now in my set here, a 53 or a 053 is actually going to be the low E that I replaced. PB stands for phosphor bronze. We happen to like phosphor bronze. It's a nice warm sounding string. So you're going to take it out of the package that it comes in, and you'll notice that on one end it's cut and there's no ball end, but on the other end you'll notice that there is a ball end. You see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ball end of the string, and I'm going to place it into where the bridge is here, just slightly. And do you remember that little bridge pin that we took out? Well, that's actually going to go inside the bridge as well. It's going to snug the string so it doesn't actually pop out of the bridge. There's a little slot generally in these bridge pins. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that that slot faces the headstock of the guitar. So I'm going to place this in there, and I'm going to pull up on the string and push down at the same time, and you'll actually feel that ball end snug against the bridge pin, and that's all there is to it. And that's snug inside the bridge, and we've got our low E string in place, ready for the next step. Okay, the next step here is probably the most important. There's a few things going on, but if you can master these few steps, you'll be a whiz at changing these strings. Now remember, your string is already inside the bridge, so that's a good thing. Your string travels up, it's going to go through the nut, it's going to want to sit inside the nut slot there. However, the most important thing is when you take your string and you put it through the tuning machine, there's a few things we need to make sure happen. One is, once you put it through, you certainly don't want to pull it all the way tight where there is no slack. The string needs to have slack to wrap around the tuning machine. So there's a really cool way to figure out how much string to leave, because you must leave some slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the tuning machine. I got this really cool trick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my cutters. I'm going to get my wire cutters ready. Now, if this is the tuning machine that I want to put the string on, which is my low E, the best way to calculate how much string to cut off is this. I want to go to the next tuning machine and maybe about like 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to cut the string right about here. Now the reason why we want to cut the string is, I don't know if you can actually see this on this guitar here, but do you notice that the strings are wrapped really nice? They're tight. The strings go right underneath one another. That way, that's a really good, whoever did this did a really good job. So what we want to do is we want to duplicate what happened here. We don't want the string all knotted up and all twisted. That won't be good for the string. Matter of fact, it could actually even hurt the string in the long run. So here's what we do. We take it along, we get our wire cutters ready. This is the tuning machine that I want to put it on. I'm going to go a tuner length and about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to cut that string. And then once you're there, you don't have to be scared, because it's going to be fine. And now I've cut. Okay, now that I've got the string cut and I know that it's at the proper length, here's what we need to do to properly put it around the tuning machine. What you want to do is find the hole in the tuning machine, and obviously if you can see that, and I'm turning it, hole on this side, and obviously it goes through the other side. So you want to set it up so it's actually easy to put through. Once that's through, you're going to want to line it up with the nut here, because it's going to have to sit in its string placement. Now here's probably the most important part. You still don't want to pull the string too tight. What you want to do is you want to leave about 1/8 of an inch to the tail here on the opposite side of the tuner. That's where we cut the string. And if you turn the tuner counterclockwise, you'll see that the string now will start to wrap around the tuner. Now again, I can do this by hand, or I can use my peg winder, and it'll go a little bit faster. If you notice, I'm actually pulling on the string towards the back of the guitar, and it's wrapping around the little tail there. And one of the most important things is, as you get to the second wrap, the string needs to go underneath itself. This way, it'll be a nice clean look around the tuning machine and the string won't strangle itself. And I will continue to turn this, and I will slightly bring it up to pitch once it wraps around the tuning machine. And that's as simple as that. And if you notice, based upon where we cut the string, you've got a perfect wrap there. Now again, it's still attached to the bridge, but what we have is it's on the guitar, and that's step number one. Step number two then will be to tune the single string. But that's how you do it. It's as easy as that. Now real quickly, before I move to an electric guitar, I want to show you one thing. This is the low E string, this is the A, and this is the D, which is the fourth string on the guitar. One of the things that I wanted to show you is how to replace this string and understand how much slack you need here so that the string looks properly and is wound properly on the tuning machine. So first things first, I'm going to loosen this tuning machine on the D. I'm going to take off the bridge pin like we did on the low E, and I'm going to replace the D string, and I'm going to show you quickly on how to measure this properly for your D and also when you replace the G strings as well. So coming up. Okay, just like I promised, we're onto the D string. So here's the thing. We don't really have a gauge here on where we're going to cut this D string to fit properly over the tuning machine. So here's what I recommend. Just kind of eyeball it. You're going to have about, I don't know, looks like about 1.5 inches here. So what you want to do is you want to take this length and you basically want to add it on to here. Okay? And then, so once you have that, you have it right about there. And then you still want to go about 1/8 inch. So without a tuning machine here, but this far, and I'm going to cut my string right about here. This way, I'll have enough to go around the tuning machine. So I'm going to discard what I just cut off. I'm going to swing around, and just like I did on the low E, I'm going to put the tail through, about 1/8 inch that's showing. I don't know if you can actually see that or not. Let me try to get my hand out of the way. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to hold the guitar. I'm going to pull the string towards the back of the guitar, towards the neck. You'll notice that it goes right underneath the tail. Sorry if the camera's shaking there. And as I wind it, it goes right underneath of it. And a few more turns. And the great thing is that it's professionally done and will stay in tune once it's all in. So there you go. That's how you'll do the D and the G. You want to make sure that you visually see the length before cutting the string. Okay, now on my workbench I have an electric guitar. Obviously you can tell this is a little different than an acoustic. It has some pickups that we mentioned, volume knob, tone knob, selector switch. There's one thing that's interesting though, it doesn't actually have bridge pins. Most electrics will not have bridge pins. Sometimes the strings will be on the front of the guitar where they'll latch to, or in this case it's actually behind the guitar. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to loosen a string. I'm going to then pull the string through, and we're going to pull it right out the back of the guitar. And in this case, we're going to restring this guitar with a D string, or the fourth string. And I'll show you how that is on an electric guitar. Okay, with an electric guitar, sometimes you actually may see these devices here that are actually holding down the strings. These are actually called string trees. These actually assist the strings to pitch down towards the headstock so the strings don't slip out of the nut. But let's do the same thing and the same measurement that we did with the acoustic with the electric. So I'm going to replace the D string. I'm going to go a full tuner, and maybe about 1/8 inch, and I am then going to cut that string. Okay? Then I'm going to put it through the tuning machine just like I did the acoustic. I'm going to line it up. I'm going to try to find that hole, and we are in there with about 1/8 inch on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn this counterclockwise, and you'll see the string turn itself, and it'll go right underneath of it. And this guy will go right underneath the previous string, and it will sit underneath the string tree. And once the string tree grabs it, it actually makes it kind of nice because it almost holds it in place. The string then will sit in the nut. And if you notice, in this particular case, on this guitar, the tuners are all in a line, so every time I put a string on, I'll always turn each tuner counterclockwise. Kind of makes it nice To restring it, just simply a different way the guitar was built. Not any better or any different than 3 on a side, just differently cosmetically. So that's how you do an electric guitar. It's that simple. And if you have a string tree, just make sure that your string pitches underneath the tree so the string pitches towards the headstock. Let's talk about the cleaning and care of your guitar. It's actually relatively simple, and the items that you use on an acoustic guitar you can certainly use on an electric as well. We sell many fine products at George's Music that will actually help keep your strings clean and the body clean. First item I recommend is actually a lint-free cloth. And what these are good for is after you get done playing, sometimes the oil of your hand rests on the strings. If you just take a lint-free cloth, you can actually take that oil right off and your strings will last a whole lot longer. Another question that customers have is, how do you get fingerprints off the top of the guitar or back and sides? Well, that's also easy too. We actually carry a lot of fine products that are just dedicated guitar polish. Please don't use furniture polish because that could actually damage the guitar. So use a dedicated guitar polish. So if you're having a question about which one to get, ask an associate. Use it sparingly and you'll see the shine actually come back to your acoustic or electric guitar. If your strings are discolored, what you want to do is just simply change one string at a time. That would be the easiest way, and it'll keep less friction on the truss rod. But if you want to change all the strings, what's a really cool item to use is something similar to this, where it's a fretboard cleaner prep and a deep conditioner. And what this will do is it'll take a lot of the dirt off the fretboard that's underneath the strings and also moisturize the neck of the fretboard. So again, real simple, don't use furniture polish, lint-free cloth, dedicated guitar polish. That'll keep your instrument in top condition. And for the care of your instrument, you want to make sure that you keep it comfortable. If you run the air conditioner or the heat at your house, you want to make sure that you get a humidifier for your guitars. That would be for an acoustic or electric guitar. So if you have a question about what a humidifier does or how it operates on a guitar, see an associate, they'll help you out right away. If you live near the mountains or the desert, 1, I'm jealous. 2, you're going to need a humidifier for your guitar. If you're not sure, use a humidifier for your guitar. So again, see an associate for any details on that. The other thing is you want to make sure that you keep it comfortable. If you're comfortable, then your guitar is going to be comfortable. Don't leave it in a cold car or a very hot day. That will actually sometimes subject the woods to flexing. It'll also go out of tune easy. So again, if you're comfortable, your guitar is comfortable. Holding the guitar properly is relatively simple. What you want to do is you want to balance the guitar on your right leg. If you notice on this acoustic guitar, there's an indentation here that actually allows me to put it on my right leg and almost balance it correctly. The next thing that I want to do is I want to pull it close to my body and I want to sit up straight. That's the best way to do this. The next move is, if you'll see, my right arm has this joint is going to rest right on top of the guitar, and if you notice, I can actually balance the guitar just with my right arm and my right leg here. My left hand then is free to come up and I'll start to be able to play chords. Once we're starting to play chords, the right hand will just move freely up and down the strings to strum the strings and get sound. Okay, before we start playing some chords, we need some proper playing techniques. Now you remember that we're balancing the guitar on our right leg, we're using our right arm, the joint's actually holding the guitar in place. Pretty much will do that with my right arm and my right leg. Now we have our left hand that we need to talk about. Your left hand here has the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and a pinky, also known as 1, 2, 3, and 4 in guitar books. As you are going to start playing some chords, we're going to reference either 1, 2, 3, or 4, or index, middle, ring, and pinky on the fretboard, and we're going to be placing them between the frets. The one finger that seems to get not a lot of attention, is probably one of the most important one, is your thumb. What you want to do is, before we start playing some chords, your thumb needs to be straight up in the back, just like this. It shouldn't be like this, and it shouldn't be actually underneath the neck. It needs to be straight up like that. So the thumb goes directly behind the neck. You're going to arch your fingers, and probably one of the coolest things that I learned was one of my teachers actually took a pencil, and they were able to actually put a pencil in between my hand and the fretboard, and that actually creates probably the best way to arch your fingers, because you don't want the strings to be muted, you want them to ring out clear. So that's a proper playing techniques for you. Okay, now that you have the proper playing technique in place, you're holding the guitar straight, you're sitting up straight, your arms balancing the guitar, your left hand's ready to start playing some chords, you may wonder what your right hand's going to do, because obviously this is going to move freely across the strings. Well, for some beginners, they just like to use their thumb to get sound. It'd be a nice soft sound if you just use your thumb and just glide it towards the floor. If you glide it up, you may actually be able to use the top of your nail to get a brighter sound. Okay. But probably one of the most fun things to do as a guitar player is to find the ultimate pick for your playing style. So I have a few here, and I just kind of want to show you some of the differences. On a like a thin pick, what you'll have is a very bright sound. Okay. You'll also find that they come in all kind of shapes and sizes. This one's kind of a cool graffiti type pick. This one's like a large triangle. Now this one's a thin pick. Sometimes players like the larger size so they can hold it easy. Again, nice bright sound. However, if you're looking for maybe a darker, warmer sound, just grab a heavier pick and you'll notice that some of the highs kind of go away. Notice that? So the ultimate fun thing is to find the ultimate pick for your playing style. Okay, now that we know the basic parts of the guitar, the names of the strings, how to tune the guitar, how to properly hold the guitar, and you found your favorite pick, it's time to learn our first few chords. So what we're going to do is make sure that we sit up straight, the guitar is straight, our elbow joint's actually holding this guitar in place. And now it's time to start using our left hand. So remember that the left hand, you have an index or number 1, middle number 2, ring is number 3, and pinky is number 4. Now what we're going to do is place them on the fretboard, and we're going to start playing our first few chords. The most important thing is when I show you the chords is that you're going to want to make sure that your fingers are actually between the frets, not actually on the fret. If it's actually on the fret, kind of get a buzz sound. So what you're going to want to have happen is when you form your chords, your fingers are going to want to be in between the frets. This way the strings will ring out properly. Now we're just going to use 2 chords. So the first chord I'm going to show you is going to be a G7, and the second chord I'm going to show you is going to be a C major. Okay? And they're all just going to be done, both chords, with just one finger. It's really easy. And it's just going to include the G, B, and the high E string when you strum down on the strings. So I'm going to turn the camera angle so you can see my left hand a little bit clearly, and we'll get going. Okay, I turned the camera angle there so you can actually see the neck. And again, this is our headstock on our tuning machines, and we're going to work within the first fret region. So basically what we want to do is we want to take our first finger, which is our index finger, and we want to put it between the nut and the first fret here, which is this silver vertical line. What we want to do though is kind of move our first finger up almost close or to right next to behind the fret there. That's going to actually give us the best sound. Now I'm playing 3 strings. I'm going to be playing the G, the B, and the E with my pick, and I'm going to just strum lightly down towards the floor. I'm going to take my first finger, put it right behind the fret, and I'm just going to strum those 3 strings, and I've got what's called a G7 chord. Okay? Now I guess one of the more difficult things that beginner players have a tendency to overcome is moving from one chord to the next. So what we'll do here is we'll move to what's known as the C chord. So we're going to go from the G7, and all I'm going to do is lift my first finger up. I'm going to put it at the first fret on the B string, or what you would call the second string for some of you. And I'm still going to play the top 3 strings. But what I'm going to try to do is get my first finger out of the way of that top string. You see how the hand is moving. I could certainly get a pencil underneath like we talked about before, and my thumb is right behind the neck there. And by that proper arch, that top string rings out. Now when you first start, you may actually kind of encounter this. That just means that this first finger is not quite out of the way of that top string. You want to arch it. And a great practice is going from this chord to this chord. And one of the best ways to do that is just strum it 4 times. Here's the G7. And then I'm going to move to the C. And again, I'm playing just the top 3, and you see that my first finger is moving from the first fret of the first string, or the high E, to the first fret of the B string. And as you can get that going, 2, 3, 4. You got that? Okay, so again, one more time. And you're off to the races there. So that's a G7 to a C major chord. Well, again, my name is Eric, and I hope you enjoyed this Jumpstart to Guitar Basics. Contact your local George's Music Store for private one-on-one lessons. Check out the events page and the events happening at all our George's store with everything related to guitar. And if you have any questions, certainly send us an email or give us a call. We're here to help out. And good luck with your playing guitar.